Arizona State wide receiver Jordyn Tyson, highly productive college football player who just happened to have a string of bad luck injury history. But it makes him a true wild card in the first round in this year's NFL draft. And he is one of the confirmed 11 wide receivers the Saints have brought in for their top 30 pre draft visits. So there's some definite interest there from New Orleans. Today's film room, we're going to break down Arizona State wide receiver Jordyn Tyson and see if we can figure out how he may fit into the Saints 2026 NFL draft board. I'm Tim. Let's talk Saints. Arizona State wide receiver Jordyn Tyson. Kind of a bigger guy, 6 foot 2 inches tall, 203 pounds. Turns 22 in August. So a lot younger than some of the other receivers that we've been looking at in this draft. He actually started his college career at Colorado 2022, where he had 22 catches, 470 yards, 5 touchdowns in 9 games. A couple of them he actually started in. Then he tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL. So that basically led to a medical redshirt in 2023. He is credited with 3 games and about 14 total snaps, but for all intents and purposes, he didn't play in 2023. That's when he transferred to Arizona State, and he had the breakout at Arizona State in 2024. 12 games, 75 catches on 113 targets, 66.4% catch rate, 1,098 yards, averaging 14.6 a catch, 10 touchdowns. 2025, another really good year in 9 games, 62.9% catch rate on 61 catches, 97 targets, 711 yards, 11.7 average, 8 touchdowns. Career numbers combined between the two schools: 60.70% catch rate, 14.3 yards per catch, 31.1% of his snaps in the slot, 68.3% snaps out wide. So a lot of experience in both areas, both the slot and outside. 5.1 yards after the catch average, 7.6% drop rate, which is very good. And it's really excellent when you consider that freshman year at Colorado, his drop rate was 17.9%. But may have struggled a little bit to catch the ball that year, but not since that first year. So the highly talked about thing with him is the injury history. So 2022, he had the rather major knee injury, which essentially cost him 2023. 24, he had a banger, man. He came out and established himself, had a really good year, but he fractured his clavicle that needed surgery, caused him to miss the postseason that year. 2025 had lingering hamstring issues, missed 3 games. Um, and the lingering of that carried over rather through the combine, through his pro day, basically through the pre-draft process. And I think in large part, at one point they were talking about he was the number one receiver in this draft class. And as this lingering hamstring issue, and it seems like it's not the same hamstring, or not the same injury, it's re-aggravated, I guess. Um, as this lingered, I think that precipitated his kind of slide to he's seems to be the consensus number 3, looking instead of potential top 10 pick, mid first round, maybe even sliding towards the 20s somewhat. The injury history is interesting because the knee injury and the clavicle, to me, that's more bad luck, not unlike Tyler Shuck's injury history that he had in college. It didn't seem like a chronic issue or anything that you need to worry about, other than the fact it was bad luck. He blew a knee, and then bad luck, he broke his clavicle. And the knee injury, all 3 tears, may be a little worrisome, except for the fact he came out in 24 until the broken shoulder blew it up, man. Didn't seem to have any ill effects left over from that knee surgery. Looked like the rehab was fine, and he came back as good as ever, if not better. So those two, it kind of is getting lumped into the injury history, and I get it. And you know, it's an issue as big as it was when we were talking about Tyler Shuck's injury history after we drafted him. And it could still linger. But, like I said, those are more bad luck. They're not really the soft tissue type. like the hamstring is. And there's the worry. Because look, lingering soft tissues injuries, as we well know, have plagued athletes in every sport that you can probably think of, whether it's hamstring, calves, whatever, those lower leg soft tissues. And sometimes it's something that happens and they recover from it and it's never an issue again. But in some cases, careers have been shortened, if not ended, because they can't ever really fully recover or get over a chronic soft soft tissue injury problem. I would red flag this out the wazoo if this was the previous staff, because we have perfectly healthy players that would get a soft tissue injury in training camp and we would barely see them again for the remainder of the year. We could never get our own guys healthy. This one, I'm not as concerned about that. I think they realize their errors and have corrected all that with their medical staff and their sports science guys and all that. So when they evaluate his medicals, and there was a mention on Twitter that the Saints aren't concerned about him, but I don't know how accurate of reporting that is or not. But that's really the issue. If it's something where they think it's chronic issue that's going to keep popping up throughout his career, yeah, he's not really a thing at eight. But if this is just because, as far as I know, I could not find he ever had soft tissue problems until this past season. So if it's just a one off and maybe wasn't treated right, rehabbed right, whatever, but they're like, no, 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 it's fine. There doesn't seem to be anything that's going to think this will be continue to be a problem, or he will have other soft tissue problems in the future. Well, then at that point, you got to trust the medicals. Now, did basically nothing in the pre-draft process because of that hamstring, and as such, he has scheduled a private workout April 17th, and that's where he can put everything to bed with the medicals. He can put that to rest. Now at the combine, because of that hamstring problem, the only thing he did was lift. He bench pressed 225 pounds 26 times. Try to say that 5 times fast. So at least one thing that's not a concern is he shows some strength to go on that frame that he has. Likely maybe able to put in a little more weight and muscle and be a little stronger athlete out there as a wide receiver. But he really didn't have any other participation at the combine or a pro day. So again, April 17th is important because he's going to have to get out there and showcase his athletic ability. He basically proved his tape. You watch him in 24 and 25 at Arizona State, and you're going, it's a lot like Caleb Downs that we've mentioned a few times. It looks like you have no questions about his athletic ability, but until he runs the 40 and he does the jumps and all that other stuff, you're it's still kind of a guess. And I think when you're talking top 10, you'd like a hard confirmation. But what his film also shows, I think his tape is really good because, like mentioned, played outside, played inside, and very effective, both as an outside receiver in a slot. The guy knows how to get open. In either alignment, it doesn't seem to really be an issue for him. And he definitely makes big plays out of both of them. And you look at 2025, even with the 9 games and the hamstring issues, um, his advanced stats, man, he only had one drop in 97 targets. You got to love that. 4.3 yards after the catch, forced 6 missed tackles, so he can do some stuff in the open field with the ball. He was credited with 5 deep catches for 170 yards or 34 yards per catch. Outstanding. So 11 catches on screen pass for 76 yards, 6.9 average. The number I kind of really like that pops is of his 17 slot catches, they went for 172 yards, so 10.1, 10 yards a catch. He's a first down in 2025 at Arizona State. It was a first down basically thrown to him out the slot. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. There's something you kind of look at and go, like to see that get better, but it's not bad by any stretch of the imagination. His contested catch rate, 43.8%. Yeah, there are a lot worse contested catch rates in this draft than that. that's probably floating around the average somewhere. You'd like to see that get a little better, and it may happen. Uh, I think it kind of just comes down to this, or the bottom line in him. Tate and Lemon to me have solid floors. Tate size over Lemon because I don't think one is any more athletic over the other one, but Tate a little more height on him and a little more size. But their floors are very, very solid. You just kind of question the ceiling on them. How good can they really, really be? But as a complete receiver, I think Tate is the most complete that you see on film. However, Tyson gets signed off on the medicals and gets signed off on his athletic ability. To me, his ceiling is the highest of the three because he brings Tate's frame. It looks like he brings their ability to get open and good route runner. He just shows athletic ability, both short, intermediate, and long routes. That he can go get the ball and make plays at any level. So I think the only kind of, and it's not really a drawback. It's just a product of he kept having seasons interrupted because of injury issues. Is that, and this is why I think he's the most athletic because his route running isn't bad. Do not get me wrong on that, but it's more. And this is not necessarily my take. This is kind of what I've been reading on some of the analysis on these guys. Tate and Lemon just having more time and more experience, a little bit of that kind of, for lack of a better word, nuanced stuff that you have to do in route running. And really and truly, the only way you kind of learn it is you do it enough against these multi-front defenses with multi um, coverage schemes and pattern match and all this seen in the NFL. Well, you see it in college, and these guys certainly saw it at times. One of the ways you get better at it is you just kind of have to play against it, and the experience comes in, and you start realizing when things in coverage after the snap changes from what you read pre-snap, and finding, oh, it's his zone, settling down, anticipating the ball coming your way, or no, it's a man or one-on-one trying to stretch. All stuff that he's going to have to do, or all three of them are going to have to do in the pros. But I don't see any reason why, if you, again, medicals check out and he's healthy and you keep him healthy, I don't see any reason why he's not going to be able to handle that. So potentially, I think he gets the polish and has more athletic ability, more speed, more wiggle, all that stuff in his game than the other two. That's definitely a higher ceiling. So I think April 17th is huge, huge, huge for him on many, many levels. And the reason why I've been waiting on this video is to get some type of confirmation and he should have always been in the Saints' plan, since they are sending the message, hey, we're going all in at a receiver. And we'll talk a little more about that in a second. But if you're going to go all in at the receiver and you're looking for the best guy or certain um, maybe certain attribute over others, you got to consider him. And when kind of confirmed, saw in the last week or so, more and more names of these 30 pre-draft visits that they had so many wide receivers on them. Some of them have already done it. In the case of when they were talking about this, when I saw this on Twitter, they were talking about Tyson was coming in for his, which he's, by the time I'm filming this, he's already had it. So he's on the radar, and their radar is they're casting a wide net on wide receiver on this. So I think it's now's the time to break him down, and now's the time to talk about if if he checks the two boxes, medicals and basically athletic ability, where do you put him, and how does that affect the Saints as they're putting that draft board together? So taking a look at the 11 names that the Saints have kind of shown some considerable interest in. Most of these are on the pre-draft um, top 30 pre-draft list. A lot of them have already been in there. That's not counting visits to pro days that the Saints have made and meetings with them. Like in the case of Cornell Tate, when they went to Ohio State's pro day, apparently there was a big meeting with a lot of Ohio State players either the night before or the night after pro day, and he was one of them. So this is just to kind of show, not necessarily to go in depth in any of them. We've covered the 3 first rounders. We've talked about Chris Bell. At some point, probably going to talk about Omar Cooper because I was pleasantly surprised to see he makes this list. And very good football player. We'll say this about him. I love his ability after the catch, and a physical guy doing it and can doing it from the slot, which that checks a lot of boxes for the Saints. But very likely he could sneak into the first round and be a second round, along with Bell, who we talked about, and Denzel Boston, who kind of is Chris Bell like. It just maybe a little slower. But I think other than that, he compares very, very favorably to what Chris Bell can do. But they're looking at, the day 2 guys, likely third rounders, but, Ted Hurst, totally misspelled his name. Sorry, Ted. Ted Hurst for Georgia State, Zachariah Branch for Georgia, University of Georgia. Both kind of fitting some categories where they hadn't grabbed the receiver by the third round. Hurst, again, he's another bigger, faster, more outside receiver guy. Branch, a lot smaller, and a lot relies less on strength operating out the slot for his yards after the catch and more on speed and running in the open field. And he also does a pretty good job of going long from the slot and being able to catch deep passes. Honestly, all I really know about Roger Nelson from North Dakota State, Reggie Virgil, and Caleb Douglas, both from Texas Tech, so they're likely to be day 3 guys. And it doesn't seem like late day 3 guys, the UDFAs, although once you get into day 3, especially probably past the 4th round, that all goes up in the air because teams are kind of their draft boards at that point is more about either trying to fill some holes or taking some shots on some players that may or may not be able to make the roster, but trying to get them on the practice squad, things like that. So it's kind of really hard to tell once you get in day 3, for the most part, kind of where they're going to fall in the rounds. But the day 3 alone tells you, um, yeah, there's some stuff there that interests teams to put them on their draft board, but it just may not be enough for them to go out of their way to draft them until day 3 if they happen to be there when it's a convenient and value pick for them to select guys like that. No disrespect intended to any of them. And I'll try to take a look through since we are at the point in this whole process where the Saints are showing their hand. Now, not to say that, oh, they're definitely taking a wide receiver at number 8, but this much interest in the way it just kind of, when you look at sort of where they're projected, either in mocks or analysis, where uh, some analysts will put like a round grade on him. He's first round grade, second round. Kind of similar. And that seems to be of the 11 names that so far we seem to be confirmed. Because I have to say, there's no official list out there, but this seems to be the 11 that, Saints Wire, the usual suspects, Cat Terrell, Nick Underhill, Triplet, all those guys, they've all at some point mentioned this or reported on some of these names, if not all of them. Uh, Yahoo Sports, USA Today, you'll see stuff in there. Ian Rappaport. Multiple sources have kind of attached those 11 names to the Saints at some point. It's probably going to take a special set of circumstances for them kind of looking at this to not have a wide receiver by pick 136, our second pick in the 4th round. So, yeah, April 17th, big day for Jordyn Tyson. Big day for the Saints, kind of figure out this wide receiver thing. The message is being sent there about what they're looking at in this draft. I think both boxes get checked. I'm going to have to sit there and stare hard at Tate versus Tyson at that point. One's a little safer, but maybe more limited on his upside in Tate than Tyson, who, you know, overcomes, or not overcomes, but just eliminates the worry about any worry about an injury, and shows, yeah, I still have a little catching up to do from those two guys just because I didn't play as much as they did in my college career, but I can handle it. And once he does, then what I think is the superior athlete gets on the field. That makes a huge difference about where that ceiling's going to be. So let me know, he checks both boxes. Let me know where you put him. If you have concerns about either one or both of the boxes, go ahead and let me know about that down there too. So coming up next, going to be a full 7 round mock, and I will unveil, for better or worse, kind of my big board for at least that first round pick, and it's going to be a lot different than a lot of other people's. And judging by your comments, I'm thinking I'm gonna get some serious pushback on why I'm doing what I'm doing when I'm looking at that big board. But I'll explain all that, and then we'll go try to go ahead and get that first legitimate, because I really haven't done a legitimate post free agency, um, post mostly pro days and combine and pro days. Most of them are done now, if not all of them. Mock draft, the full extent, all 7 rounds, in our case 6, because we don't have a 7th round pick. Just see what it looks like, and have a genuine fan wide discussion on what amounts to whistling in the dark because you just don't really know what's going to happen. But I think we're getting a better picture to make some educated guesses, and that's really what a mock draft is. So hopefully 2 or 3 days I'll have all that done. That'll be the next video. And the first time here, please go ahead, hit the like, share, subscribe for me. And again, let me know in the comments what you think. All that helps the algorithm out. And until the next time I see you, peace out and who dat.